俺の拳を試すか Come on!
This is gonna be a match to remember. Fight!
Welcome back to another episode of the Slovenly Gamer Podcast, folks. I am your humble host, Milton, and on this very special episode 59 of the show, remember last time we spoke, I had my buddy Paul Louise-Julie on, and this the last time we were talking, you know, he kind of gave us a little bit info about his upcoming Kickstarter. Well, folks, it's been almost a week that it's been, like, Paul, so tell us, like, how long has this Kickstarter been going on right now? Like a week, right?
Well, yeah, we actually launched on the night of the 30th. So and the funny thing, it was the night before the night of Halloween, I think.
Right, it was. Actually,
so it was Halloween. Yeah. So it was the night of Halloween, and I remember we launched, I think, like at 6:30 p.m. on Halloween. So people actually were just getting off of work, and the moment they found the Kickstarter was on, we went from $0 to $2,000 within 4 hours of that time, which was absolutely awesome. And it was even less than that, because people just wanted to make the initial fans, they wanted to make sure they got their pledges in, and then they went off trick or treating or partying, whatever they're gonna do. Which I just found that totally awesome, because like they say, Halloween's so important, but we want to make sure this is even more important. We're just gonna get it in, even though we have no more time though. So that was in the first day. And now we are we just crossed the 1 week border, and I'm so proud to say that we are 1/3 funded. I've never seen that before. I'm just so excited by that. We're at least at 34. Congrats to the fans. I mean, they're the ones that made it happen, and also the new fans that came in. So I'm just really excited about that.
Okay, so let's hop right into it, because you're a busy man. There's lots to do, and folks, also want to mention this is the first time that I can recollect, and if I'm wrong, maybe one of my listeners, you can tell me. This is the first time I'm actually recording a show, and it's gonna go up in the same day. So as I'm recording this, today is actually Monday, November 7th.
It might as well be live.
Yeah, right. Like, we're recording this at like 4:00, California, Pacific time, and it's what time is it? Like 7:00 by you, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So it's like a little after 7. So as soon as I'm done with this, edit it up, and it's gonna be going on. So like, this is like some really exclusive things we got going on here. Paul just really got off the phone, talking about some things pertaining to the Kickstarter. So first off, what I want to say is sell the Kickstarter, because sell what the pack in Yohance is, because it's on Kickstarter. There's gonna be obviously the fans, we who love it, we who support it. We're already there, we're going to support it. We're going to try to spread the word, but sell it to new people who've never heard about the pack, people who've never heard about Yohance. If you want people to go on to Kickstarter right now and support this, how would you sell it to them?
Ooh, all right. Well, I have to do like the Reader's Digest version, right? Just okay. This Kickstarter is unique in that it's a double feature, if you will. It's actually Kickstarter to print 2 separate series. There's the pack, which currently has 3 issues that have been published since July 2015. All 3 of those issues were published digitally on Kindle, iBooks, Google Play, and Comixology, and all 3 of them were bestsellers on Kindle. So that's how you got the fan base from it. And the pack follows a group of Nubian and Egyptian werewolves and a fantasy version of Africa. That's kind of like the tagline to the whole series, and that really is the very, very vague, like the pitch for the actual series. But for those that know, it's much more complex than that. There's much more that goes into the world, and just like Yohance, which I'm going to introduce in just a second, all of my books, the focus really is on the artwork. The story, I'm very proud to say, people enjoy it, and people think that's a very complex story, so I'm very thankful that people feel that way. But my mission, first and foremost, beyond being a storyteller, is being an artist. And one of the huge parts I wanted to do was to produce graphic novels that go beyond the limitations of comic books and actually feel like you're looking at actual paintings on a page, and I feel I've achieved that on all three of them, and the fans have reinforced that. They said it definitely feels that way, so that's something that I'm very thankful for and proud for that. The pack really is the first three issues take place in the Egyptian saga, so it takes place in the realm of Egypt in Aya, and what that allows me to do is create a fictional version of ancient Egypt, but as detailed as I want it to be, and that fits into this fictional, this fantasy land of Aya, which actually is a fantasy version of Africa, but that coincides with all these other different eras and realms that are across the continent. But in real life, you wouldn't be able to do that because Egypt predated every single one of them. So to have different empires as contemporaries is quite exciting to have, though. And the pack explores every single one of them. So that's the pack. And also, again, just like I said, it's the reason why it gets the name of the pack is because the main characters happen to be a pack of werewolves, but not your average werewolves. These are African werewolves, and for those that their antennas rose up at that, they've never seen that. Read the pack, you will see what an African werewolf looks like, and it's pretty badass. Their official name is called Dogri.
And you know what? I was just gonna touch on that to give people some kind of mythical, some mythical / historical context in terms of that. People may think there's no such thing in terms of the African history of storytelling and mythos, but there is, and it is called Dogri, and it's very interesting because I didn't actually know
it's actually a Nubian word, actually, which fits so perfectly. And this is another reason why I decided to start in Nubia or have the main characters as Nubians, because the myth of the Dogri actually originates from the Nubian city, well, now Egyptian city, but the Nubian city of Aswan. And for those that have read issue 3 of the pack takes place mainly in Aswan. Now, the reason why Aswan is so important is because it really is the birthplace of the myth of the Dogri. So from the very get-go, I knew that I had to have a huge part of the story that took place in Aswan, because it's kind of paying homage to their roots, just in real life, in mythology, and also in the world of Aya. So, but what that allows me to do is to show that the only reason I'm using the term werewolf is because that's a best term point of reference from the Western world.
Yeah.
They are shapeshifters. Yes, they do have canine features. They do have many traits that you would associate with werewolves in lycanthropy, but they are so much more than that. It really is a unique African creation that I think many people have enjoyed and will enjoy. But it's not for little kids. I'm warning you, though. It gets pretty. It gets pretty Tarantino at sometimes.
Yeah. The story gets a little bit crazy. So now let's talk about the other half of this.
The other half,
amazingly awesome Kickstarter that I have already backed it, and as you're listening to this,
he's actually the largest backer so far. Let me put that in there. Actually, I mean, I'm
trying to do
now so far. I'm thinking someone might up you within out, so you might have to adjust your pledge. I don't know.
I'm looking out. I'm looking out for that.
Yeah, but so far, Milton's the reigning MVP. So
exactly,
I got to pay respect where it's due. There, appreciate it, brother.
All hail your king. So just something I want to touch on, just from the perspective of a fan. To me, what makes this so unique, and what kind of and with this we're gonna flow into the other part of the Kickstarter, which is Yohance. Right. I've never seen this. Maybe there is things like that are out there, but I've never seen this in any Kickstarter that I've personally backed, in terms of backing a Kickstarter and getting two things kind of for the price of one, if you can say that. You're getting
right.
Because almost every one of your perks, you can kind of you've done this amazing vast perk plan of if you're only Yohance, you can kind of just get Yohance PDFs if you want to, right, and everything with Yohance. You can only get the pack stuff if you want to. You can get a combination of the things, and I think that's really great, and that's very unique thing to do in terms of perks for the fans. Like there's T-shirts.
Well, thank you. We worked very hard on that.
Yeah, there's T-shirts and all these cool things. So this is unique from that perspective of you're getting two amazingly vast projects in one Kickstarter. So let's flow on to Yohance now and give people, because Yohance was pretty big too, and Yohance is a recent project of yours that you kind of kicked off, because I remember you and I were talking, and you kind of like, you know what, I kind of want to do this. I have this idea of doing like,
oh yeah, sorry, yeah, I spoke to you about that before I even made the post. That's right.
Yeah. You were like, hey man, I have this idea. I want to do this thing. I have this character that I'm thinking about. It's like, these are the influences. What is, what's your opinion? These are characters.
We need to start. We need to start recording our conversations now. For there's just so many nuggets in like our off-cast conversations.
Yeah, right?
We need to record this, man. Like for posterity.
Yeah, right. Hey, man, they do get a little bit blues. I don't know if we might be able to post them. But
oh yeah. You know what?
Exactly.
It's actually best we don't. I just thought about that.
Exactly.
But I'm glad you mentioned that, because Yohance really is a unique child of mine, because Yohance really was born out of my lifelong fanhood of Star Wars and space opera in general. And Milton and I are both huge Star Wars geeks. We live and breathe the way of the Jedi.
As I'm wearing my AT-AT Walker shirt right now as we're recording this.
Well, apparently that's not canon anymore to call them AT-ATs. Apparently they're called AT-ATs.
AT-ATs, yes.
I refuse to call them AT-ATs.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
sorry.
AT-AT,
It just seems,
man. They're AT-AT.
Since the 90s, I've been calling them AT-ATs, whatever. I'm sorry, Lucasfilm. I'm just not going to co-sign with you on that one, but
crazy.
Whatever. It's an all-terrain assault transport. Just put it out there. But I've been a huge fan of Star Wars ever since I was a kid, and through good and bad Star Wars, I've stuck through it. I've loved it. So that has always been a huge driving factor for my creative process. And George Lucas has always been a huge influence of mine too, because he was a director that really took the industry by storm. And say what you want about the man, for people that don't realize, before George Lucas, Hollywood was very different. Hollywood was not for directors. It still just keeps trying to screw over directors and creators, but George really took it by the horns and said, I'm going to do my own thing, and really revolutionized the industry and made independent storytelling possible in a way that was innovative and without any type of executive restrictions. So that's why I was a huge fan of him before being a fan of Star Wars.
Excuse me for that massive cough there, man. I'm sorry.
No problem. Yeah. And then when I got into Star Wars, it blew my mind, because I actually saw what he was talking about. This was a world that was created completely separate from our own. There's barely any frame of reference, and it really takes you away. But at the same time, you feel like it's always been there, and that's the unique thing about Star Wars. Because you have space operas that take you someplace else, but you don't feel like it's home. It doesn't feel like this has been in my DNA for so long. It's just in the stars with the backdrop of this awesome mythological story.
Right.
And that always captivated me from Star Wars, which is why my fandom has stayed throughout the entire time. So fast forward several years. By the way, my first comic books actually were fan comics of Star Wars back when I was like 7 or so.
Wow.
So Star Wars has always been, it's kind of like it was destiny from the very beginning. And then when it finally, fast forward to issue 2 of the pack, had just been released. This was back in August 2015. And it was July 2015. This is when issue 2 had just been released, and everyone was high on it. Everyone loved issue 2. I'd spent so much time working issue 2 because it was a huge leap for me from issue 1 to do issue 2, because I was really trying to up my game and really trying to impress people. And I'm actually very proud of the way that issue 2 came out. It was very detailed, and that was where we were. Funny enough, that was actually, I didn't have the story yet for the pack, the full story. So it was actually on the pages of issue 2 that I created the Sobeka by mistake. Because originally Kenneton was supposed to just have like a pet crocodile, and then I thought, then I drew like some character, and I thought, well, that kind of looks like that actually looks like a crocodile werewolf. Like, how would that work? And that's how the story came from the Sobeka. But anyway, that's a little tidbit there. I should go back and talk about Yohance. But anyway, for Yohance, so I was working on the pack, and I remember sitting back and like, yeah, this is really great. I like doing this. But then I started thinking, I'm going to be doing this for a while. And this is going to be going on for a while. And I have other stories I want to do. And that was when that little Star Wars boy that used to like pretend he was Han Solo or Darth Vader, like when he was a kid, and he used to be sitting in a cardboard box and think that was a Millennium Falcon. That kid kind of just came out. and he said, what about my story? I want to go to the stars too. And that's where I thought, I should probably do something about that, but I'm not going to make a Star Wars fan film or a Star Wars fan comic because so many people do it. How would I do that? But that was also after the research that I did on the pack. So, like, those two little light bulbs kind of connected. And I'm like, why don't I do an African space opera using the same research that I did on the pack, but repurposing it for something that I've never done before, which is Africa in the future.
Right.
And thus Yohance was born. And I use the name Yohance because Yohance is actually my middle name. It's a Hausa name, and from the Hausa people in northern Nigeria. And I always loved that name because it just sounds so cool. I was always think to my parents, like, yeah, thanks for giving me like a cool nickname, or like a middle name. I love Yohance. So I thought, well, that's the perfect thing to start. Let me just call him Yohance. And in that, because I've always had ideas of how I would do my own space opera, just story wise. So this just provided me an aesthetic backdrop to tell that story already. So I just kind of melded those two and just kind of worked at it. And then I decided to make a poster just to see if people would be appealed, if people would be interested in that aesthetic.
Right.
Because it really has never been done before. The Afrofuturist aesthetic with pure African pre-colonial resources and sources and done in a space opera kind of way.
And that is a very important point. Allow me to just interject for a second, because that's a very important point. This is like, pre-colonial is a very important term to use, and I think that's, we should kind of like stick on that for a second, because I think sometimes like we see other things, that are kind of dubbed, futurist / Afrofuturist or what have you, and they're not necessarily doing the same thing. It's more of a repurposed or revisioned Western aesthetic,
It's very derivative.
Splashed with a little bit of, quote unquote African aesthetic here and there. That looks like
it's
like
funny
total
you mentioned
rubbish,
that.
but if you
feels
look
that
at
way
Yohance, anyone who reads Yohance, you can tell. I mean, there's like some sick buildings to the weapons, to shields, to the jets that they fly in, to the heads-up displays and things like that. You can imagine if you went to Africa, non-colonized Africa, 3020, you would think like this is exactly what it would look like, just using the information that you have,
Yeah, that was a huge part of the challenge, actually, because when I sat down to do this, it wasn't, coming up with the story wasn't that hard, because I've always had really cool ideas of how I'd make my own Star Wars, that's not Star Wars, just like my own space opera, because I had like my own stories that I wanted to put out there, which I'm doing now through Yohance. But the aesthetic really was the hardest part, because it's a cool idea to have, to say, yeah, I'm going to make an Afrofuturist space opera with African aesthetic. But when you sit down to do it, that's a whole other story entirely, So what I had to do was figure out how to repurpose certain things that I had been so accustomed to seeing for the past 7 years by studying African civilizations. And it's funny, because I remember when I was studying those back when I was doing the pack, when I was like look at a shield or a mask, I'm like, that would be really cool as like a bounty hunter's helmet or something. That would or this kind of looks like this helmet kind of looks like a spaceship in a way, And I'd look at them in that certain kind of way. So what it would allow me to do is finally go back to those same designs I made mental notes for, repurpose them, and then take that repurposed version of it and then push that towards whatever I want for that story, and then develop that even more. And you're left with very unique designs that are 100% space opera, but that have completely African sources. Now, the reason why that's so important is because the world is incapable of seeing a world that does not have any hint of colonial influences once and for all. And I've said this many times. That's nowhere near. I have no problem with European civilization. Actually, I think it's a very beautiful thing. However, I also find African civilization to be just as beautiful, if not more beautiful to me personally, because of my heritage. And the fact that it has never gotten its time in the sun in Western culture,
right,
is a huge travesty, because if we're talking before colonialism, Africa was a shining jewel within itself. I mean, the kingdoms in Africa, they had their own society and civilizations, and the world knew about them. But their children now, in a post-colonial world, barely know anything about ancient Africa. So that's why that was why I honed in on that. That's why I just said this story has to be told, if only for the aesthetic part.
Right.
Because the story of Yohance it's a fun story, and I can't wait to delve into that. But the unique thing about Yohance is showing this is what a world would look like if Africa was allowed to shine entirely on its own, without any influence, and allowed to reach its full potential and what it could be. So that was what I did, from the heads up displays to everything. But the heart, because it's cool. It's one thing to take an influence because I've seen some people do it, actually, some concept artists where they would take they'd look at a textile or a mask from Africa and they would say, yeah, that would be really cool. It looks pretty alien to me because I'm American or British or whatever. So let me use that as an alien's head, and they'll say, yeah, I use it as an influence, and people would applaud them, say, oh, that's really cool. It's really out of the box that you thought that way. That's cool, but I have to take it a step further. You have to find a way to where you can create a culture that created this mask or this weapon or this suit or this spaceship, and they have their own aesthetic to their culture. There's logic behind it.
Right.
So in Yohance, you encountered many different races and many different peoples, and they have their own aesthetic. Their aesthetic, their different elements can actually come from very different sources, by the way. You could like, for just take Yohance, for instance. His mask comes from his mask is a mix between me trying to make it look like a gibbon monkey, because that's his nickname is the monkey. There's a reason why, and the reason why is because his acrobatic martial art style is very similar to a monkey, very similar to the Chinese martial art styles of monkeys.
And the movement.
Yeah, the physicality, and also his personality too. He's very mischievous, and very morally selfish, and that's very much is his personality. And also because for these that know, Midas Monkey, I love monkeys in general, so I deal with it. I was gonna go with it anyway. So I wanted his mask to resemble that slightly. So that was the plot point from the story. That's like the first step. The next step is, well, we have to make it African. You have to find some kind of African influence. So then I found another mask that has nothing to do with that whatsoever, but it's from the Fang people in Gabon, which is in Central Africa. And I really love the lines and the contrast between the light and the dark of that mask. And for those that have seen the concept art, they've seen what I'm talking about. It's a gorgeous mask. It's this gorgeous elongated mask with the very distinct features. So I've tried to find a way to reconcile, to take this aesthetic, extract what I need from it, repurpose it to what I need to look like, similar like a monkey's head, but in a futuristic kind of way. And that created Yohance's helmet. And then from there, that created the archetype of how he's going to design the rest of his costume, because I still wanted to kind of look like a futuristic monkey. And then from there, I said, well, let me find other elements to add in there. So his spear it's a futuristic type of spear using the same technology that because I also had to think logically, how's the technology wrap around? How's the technology work for this guy? Well, the people that he comes from, they're very organic. So if they're very organic, that fits the African aesthetic. That's great. So how would you do things? Water is very sacred in African culture. Blessings are done with water. Everything is done with water. So why don't have a technology that's based off of a liquid form? And that's where the concept of his helmet kind of taking a liquid form around him came up. Instead of it, because this common trend now in comics is to have like these kind of cybernetics, that's like nanotech kind of go around.
Yeah.
Well, I took it in a more organic kind of way, because the African aesthetic is to be as seamless as possible.
You know what?
So I took that a step further.
That whole nanotech, I think, really kind of got a lift off with the Iron Man Extremist kind of.
It definitely did, which is another reason why I can't really get into the current Black Panther thing, because I'm like, Iron Man came up with that, a few years ago. How you gonna tell me you guys are advanced? I'm just
now. So let's.
But wait. The two last things that people don't know, actually. The Yohance's weapons were unique too, because I need to find something that was, because I wanted his weapons to come kind of from all over the place. The culture that Yohance comes from uses very different weapons. Yohance is a thief. He's an intergalactic thief. So even on his spaceship, you'll find out there's many different tokens that he got from different cultures, because he's a wanderer. He's kind of like a vagrant, and you'll delve more into his story and see the separation that he has to his people, because you'll meet his people and where he comes from, and you'll see, oh, okay, that's how you relate to them. This is how you're different. This is how you're alike. His weapons are not from his people, which are the Makeda people. The Makeda are they're I can't really talk more about them, but their weapons are very different. Yohance's weapon uses a type of shield and a type of spear. The reason why I chose the shield and the spear is because across the continent, that is the preferred form of combat. And martial arts are derived from the long spear, an African long spear, which is very sophisticated beyond what we usually think of a spear. We think like a stick with some kind of pointy end at the end of it. The African spear is much more developed than that. If you just look at, so I took a spear based off of the most advanced spears I found, which are the Bakongo spears, and from the Kingdom of Congo and the surrounding tribes within them. And that spear is so unique because it's a very large head, a very wide head, that has these kind of like these different triangular edges to it, but they're assembled in a way to where the fractals create a point of gravity, a center of gravity that follows the line of the spear itself. On top of that, it's weighted to precision, and then it has certain holes in it at strategic points within the wide spearhead to make it to where it's perfectly weighted, perfectly balanced. It can travel very, very fast and be moved in a certain kind of way as that the wielder can use it kind of more like a sword and rather than a throwing weapon, and it has a weight at the end to counter that, but it also has holes in it to make it as light as possible. And then the shape of the blade has it to where when it impales someone and you twist it and you pull it out, you can actually rip out the person's insides too. That's all African warfare in there, and that's hundreds of years of or thousands of years of development behind that particular weapon. So I had to put that weapon in there, and that went into his martial arts style. And then the shield is innately Zulu. There's something so beautiful about the zebra print
thing, man. I love this
on Zulus. Yeah, I love this shield too because
cool,
when I came up with that, I was like, oh yeah, I could definitely use that.
Yeah.
But his shield is a hollow shield, and for those that read the first issue, he kind of has some issues with that one. But there's some issues with that. But that whole long tangent was kind of introduced the complexity behind Yohance, and the story itself follows an intergalactic thief, and he decides to go on this mission with the help of his android sidekick Nyabi, who has the likeness of a robotic monkey because Yohance loves monkeys. That's his whole MO. He has that, and he goes on this mission to recover a particular artifact called the Ikengeni crystal. The Ikengeni crystal is much more than it seems, and he finds that out. He kind of knows it's more than it seems, so he knows more than other people in the story, but even when he finds out what's at the other end of that rainbow, it's much more than he could have possibly dreamed, and then that unleashes like a whole story that is galaxy-wide. But that's basically the gist of Yohance.
Okay, that, folks, I mean... and those two massive expositions were more so for people, who aren't, who weren't and aren't familiar with either the pack or Yohance, to kind of give you an insight into the awesomeness that you'll be backing on this Kickstarter. Now, another thing I want to ask you is like, what's the difference? Because the market right now is flooded with Kickstarters. Like, you have people, they're on their third and fourth Kickstarters for this project and that project. You have some people, this is their second Kickstarter and they still haven't even fulfilled their their first Kickstarter. There's a myriad of things going on in terms of Kickstarter, both negative and positive, right?
Right.
What's the difference between yours, aside from the story of the pack and all the African
aesthetic
from the
and
Kickstarter
all the
itself? And what is it? If I'm looking at this, like, I'm not familiar with any of this. I look at because you do make an awesome video. I think you have like 2 videos that are really great, and you got to check it out.
Thanks.
So if you go into kickstarter.com and you type in the pack or Yohance, it'll pop right up. It's the first one. Like, if someone is going in there and they're looking at this is another selling point, and they're just looking and they're like, okay, I'm not familiar with any of this. I heard the podcast. I'm going to go on. I'm going to check it out, but I'm kind of unsure. How would you say, like, you know what? There's trust in this product and you should back this because of X, Y, Z. So what would you say to them in terms of backing a good reason for backing Yohance and the pack?
Well, before I answer that, I have to underline the fact that a lot of research went into this before I did this Kickstarter. And Milton, who's known me for a while now, he remembers all the conversations we had back when there were so many other people that are starting their Kickstarters. Some were doing amazing jobs. Some were doing terrible jobs. Some were, we're not even going to name some, but
oh gosh,
you
know what's so funny? They sent an email recently.
Oh boy,
some bullshit ass email. Talking about, we're sorry for a delay and all this kind of stuff like that.
Look, we're not even going to talk about those
exactly.
the jokers.
But anyway, go on, brother. I'm sorry, man.
No. Trust me, I feel your pain. I'm just saying that for the sake of the show, we're not even going to talk about those jokers right now. But you and I have been talking a lot. I mean, as you can see, we've been talking a lot about this Kickstarters, and I remember it was like last year where you asked me, so Paul, when are you going to do your Kickstarter? And I said, well, I'm not ready yet. You said, what are you talking about? You have, I think at the time I had 3 issues out already. I think issue 3 had just dropped. Yohance was on the way. He said, you should do the Kickstarter now. I mean, you got content out there. I mean, I'm seeing all these Kickstarters out there. Why aren't you going out there? I said, well, I'm not ready yet because I need to build the fan base bigger. And that goes into my research when I was doing, because I take Kickstarters very seriously. When I got into this game, the end goal is always supposed to be the Kickstarter, and that would be to be able to take them to the next level. And so I researched how successful Kickstarter, what makes Kickstarter successful. Because there are so many Kickstarters out there who go, people put something out there and it ends up underfunding terribly, and they're completely confused, and I don't see how it underfunded. On the other hand, you have guys that overfund dramatically, and their product may not even be that great. So what is the key factor for a Kickstarter working and people trusting your content?
Right.
Well, you have to have that fan base before, because people know the product, they know the content before that. If you're lucky to where people just get hyped off your project the moment that you announce it, all the better. That's great for you. There's a certain responsibility that goes along with that, but if you do that, you hit the jackpot. For the rest of us, people don't know us yet. You have to get to know people. People have to get to know to trust you first. So that's why I was building the fan base by digitally publishing my books first, so people can see the content. And that ties into my second point. My second point is making sure that I had the content already published and done. I need to make sure that if I'm going to go on a Kickstarter, I'm going to print something, that content already has to be produced.
Right.
I'm not going to ask people for thousands of dollars of their hard-earned money and then say, this might take 2 to 3 years. I don't know. I'll give you a poster in the meantime, and just don't bother me about it. Okay. Thanks for the money. I'll see you guys whenever I'm done with it, and then I'll ship it out to you. That doesn't work. Right. That doesn't cut it for me. Even if some of the backers are okay with it, I'm not okay with that. So here's what I'm going to do. If I'm going to ask you for your money, I'm treating you like I would a bank investor. Like if I'm going to an investment bank and they're sitting behind the desk and they say, okay, look, you got 5 minutes. Tell me why I should put money behind your project. I say, well, if I have the finished project, so you can look at the product yourself. It's in digital format. You can check it out yourself. Is this quality work? And it says, yeah, this is actually pretty good. And I can see that you're a bestseller, so it's been tried and true. I know this product is going to make sense. So what do you need from me then? Well, now I just need your help to give me the money that will allow me to print it, and therefore kickstart, again, keyword kickstart, to kickstart the production process of printing books.
Right.
So this is going to allow me to print the first batch. From that first batch, the money's going to go to print the second batch, and so on and so forth, and then my margins are going to grow from there. So it's very important to me that I had the finished product, so I can prove to people that there's 100% accountability here. There's nothing that you guys have not seen before. However, the thing that you have not seen before, that's exactly what you're funding. You're not funding the book itself. The book has already been published. You're funding the printed version of it. Right. And so the moment that we get funded, it goes immediately to print in China. We already have our contacts with our printer in China. Do great work. They've done some amazing print work called Print Ninja out of China. And that process takes about 8 weeks from printing to ship. The moment that those books are done, they get shipped back to me or stateside, and then from there I send them over to my third party warehouse that will be handling all fulfillment and shipping. The reason why I decided to do a third party rather than fulfilling it myself is because I want to make sure that the products are packed and shipped properly, as professionally as possible, and also that everything can be shipped out the very same day. Right. So the reason why this is so unique is because the moment that we are funded, Amazon sits on the money for about 2 weeks. After that, you have to cut another 8 weeks. That brings us to like the end of January, and from there it takes a few days for me to ship all the books directly to the warehouse, who's also going to be printing the perks. Because the t-shirts, the posters, the mugs, all the other merchandise, the original artwork, that's all being done by the same company. Actually, a very awesome company out of Texas, and they're doing all of that. So while I'm shipping the books to them, they're also going to be producing the rest of the perks. When they get all the inventory in one spot, they ship everything out the next day, internationally and domestically, and everyone gets their stuff at the same time, which should be around the first week of February.
Wow. So you seem, it appears like you really got your ducks in a row, man. You really...
Oh, well, I had to. Man. I've been playing this for a long time, but even then, this Kickstarter happened much earlier than I wanted. But certain circumstances kind of forced my hand, so I had to launch it sooner than expected. But the advantage is that I already had a good deal of planning behind me. I've been planning this since like April 2015. I've been planning this whole thing. So there's a lot of homework that's been done for this.
Now, tell us about the quality of the actual physical copies, because this is a conversation that I know that we kind of touched on this in previous shows, but because this is a particular episode that's pertaining to the Kickstarter, it may or may not end up on the Kickstarter page and so on and so forth. And, this is to kind of like boost support and let other people know who've already pledged, that their pledge is not in vain. They made, they took a good risk, and they're supporting a good project and something worth their money and worth their time. Talk to us, because we've had this conversation prior. Talk to us about the quality of the paper and the books and all that kind of stuff. Because I remember you spoke about that, and you were very keen on. Because some people may say, "Oh my gosh, $13,000 to print comic books and so on and so forth." So I think that it's very important that we also touch on that particular subject, because I don't want it to escape from people. In terms of like the quality of these physical copies.
Before I go into that, I also need to brush. Before I go into that, I need to brush onto something too. $13,000, believe it or not, is really cutting it slim. I actually did I provided a pie chart within the video for the Kickstarter, and within that Kickstarter, and even then, that's actually not entirely true. It's actually the percentage of the pie that goes to printing is actually even more than that. But I'm putting my own savings into there too to bring that down, so I can subsidize the rest of the cost. But a good 60%, which in reality is more like 70% of the cost will be going to print. The reason why it's that expensive is actually it would be even more expensive if I was printing domestic. But it's even then I have to go through China to have something even feasible. But I'm printing 1,000 copies of high quality comic books, high quality issues of each individual issue. So that means 1,000 copies. So that's 4,000 copies total. And that starts to add up after a while.
Right.
So you have 1,000 copies of the pack issue 1, 1,000 copies of the pack issue 2, 1,000 copies of the pack issue 3, and then 1,000 copies of Yohance and the Iken Getting Crystal. So that's where all that money is going. And even then, the margin that I'm making on that is relatively thin, because the majority of the money that I'm making from that first batch is going to go right back into production to print the second batch. But what that will allow me to do is order more and therefore raise my margin effectively. But that's another thing to point out too. When some people, they decide to do the Kickstarter, they treat it as their big payday. That's not your payday. Right. A Kickstarter is exactly as the name implies, to help you kickstart your business, and you're still going to go through the first 2 or 3 years of building your business and building it, which actually is fun. If you really want to do this, you're not doing it for the money, that's actually a fun part. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to getting my books into libraries and to bookstores across the country, and more importantly, having physical books that I can ship worldwide and people can buy directly from the site. One of the biggest problems I have, this is like a personal beef I have with Apple and even with Kindle actually, is that they, for some reason, they've been very unhelpful with me on this. It's very hard for my African fans to access the books digitally on either iBooks or Kindle, which frustrates me to no end, because a very important market from the very beginning was to have books in Africa, because they are a key part of the diaspora. So that this will easily rectify that problem. So the quality of the books. The mission statement for Midas Monkey, my company, and those who go to the website, they will see the mission statement is the gold standard of African storytelling and entertainment. And the reason why that is my mission statement, and the mission statement for anyone who ends up working for Midas Monkey or collaborating in the future, is because you have many people out there, many gifted, hardworking people out there who are making African fantasy content out there too. I'm thinking of Royal Coupe with Unique Studios,
Right.
or even Comic Republic in Nigeria. Greg Anderson Elise, who's the amazing comic book It's Not Only the Were Spider. So you have many other creators out there who are doing amazing work, and they're putting out great work. So I thought, what do I want to stand out for me? They're putting out quality work, but so that does not mean that I'm the only one putting quality work. No, they're putting out quality work too. I wouldn't have named them if they didn't put out quality work. What I want to do was have something that fits my high standard of beauty and aesthetic. So I know that the story has to be the cream of the cream. I want to be a luxury brand. Like, for instance, you have people that make really good cars. You have companies that make really good cars, but there's only one company that makes Rolls Royce. There's only one company. There's only one company that makes like the Maserati or the Mazda. I want to be the Maserati of African storytelling. So that was my mission statement from the very beginning, and that stretched over to everything that I do. For recently, I had one of my fans who contacted me, and they wanted to show me the T-shirt that they bought, a Yohance T-shirt they bought from the store.
Yeah, I actually
so
saw that on Facebook. I saw the post. Yeah.
Yeah. So no. That was the second time.
Okay.
The second time I saw. There's another person who actually showed it to me. So these are two people that showed me the T-shirt, and I loved the quality that came out because I print through a third party it's a print-on-demand company that does great work. So I saw the work that they were putting out, and it's incredible. It matches the colors perfectly. It's high quality work. They're saying the fabric is really well done. So the T-shirts are quality. I'm using the same company to do the T-shirts for the Kickstarter. The same thing for the posters. The posters are high quality print. It looks the same way that it would when I designed on the computer. It's very high quality stuff. So if I'm going to have that quality for my books, my digital books, for my merchandise, the printed books have to meet that same standard, if not higher.
Right. Because
this is something that people are going to keep for a long time. So I did a lot of searching. And I'm so glad I did my searching since last year, because I think I did like 3 months of searching. And I must have gotten quotes from like 25 different companies. That was just domestic. Ooh. And then like even more than that internationally, until I finally zoomed like honed in on that last like the last final three, and I finally finalized on this one final one called Print Ninja that they print out of Hong Kong, but they have offices in America too. By the way, if anyone wants to go into independent publishing, I would strongly recommend Print Ninja to print your books, because they offer really great margins, really competitive prices, large bulks. And you can really customize anything that you want, any little detail of the book, to really have, from the size to the binding to the to the paperweight to the gloss to the type of finish that you want. You can have like a spot UV on the cover.
Let me say
all these
this,
different
folks,
things
if
that allow me to.
This guy is endorsing this company is good, because this dude is a perfectionist and control freak. So if he's saying that Print Ninja is good, for those who are listening that may want to, in the future, do they own Kickstarter or get something printed, keep Print Ninja in mind. Hey, Print Ninja, you owe us a check for that commercial you just got.
They probably do. Yeah, that was like a nice little commercial check that we got right there. But and another thing I need to address too, because one thing that I'm very big on is things that are made in the U.S. and supporting your own economy. So people might say, well, that's a little bit of hypocrisy that you're outsourcing to China. Well, as much as I would love to print in America, and hopefully I will be able to do someday. Unfortunately, the margins are just not as competitive for me for an independent printer, and getting this off the ground is much more important than supporting the economy as much to the degree that I want to. So that's the main reason why I'm going with China first. Now, hopefully later on, for other things I'm doing, I can use American companies for all my merchandise. I use American companies. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of put a little tidbit in there.
Awesome, man. So it's up, it's running, it's a 3% funded. You gave people the information about the story, both stories. You let them know that this is a very unique thing in terms of just the overall story, the aesthetic. Is one person doing this? This is just you. So when he says,
it's all me.
I think it's more of like, the editorial we, as the Big Lebowski said in the movie. We as in the royal we.
The royal we.
Yeah, the editorial.
No, you're Lebowski. I'm the dude.
Yeah,
dude,
exactly.
Right?
So that's what you call me, man.
Or Deuterino if you're into the whole brevity thing.
So you're doing, you've done this all by yourself. The Kickstarter's here. It's up. People are supporting it. It's getting pushed along. what else do you have in store for people, man? Because I know you got some things brewing, and we're running short on time, so I want you to kind of
you're tapping into that red room, that top secret red room that says, "Do not pass this point, man."
Okay. Listen, put it like this, because I know we have to go, and this is just like a special. I just want you, to people can get out there and know what the Kickstarter is about, know the Kickstarter is up and going.
I do have a very important project coming up. That's about all I can say.
Okay, all right. Few list of questions, okay? Yes, no, maybe so,
all right,
however.
Sure.
All right?
Yeah, all right.
The secret project that I believe that you may or may not be working on, does it involve the pack?
No.
Does it involve Yohance?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess 2-part question: Are we getting more stories in terms of literature or comic books, or are we getting more stories in terms of movies or moving comic books?
Well, where'd you get movies from? That's all right. I would say the latter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, man. Okay. All right. So. This is crazy. So you're actually gonna do a movie. You're gonna do a movie. Right?
Okay, no, I'm not gonna confirm or deny that because there are some very concrete plans that are currently in motion for certain things that I may or may not be doing, but I cannot confirm or deny them until they are solidified. But let's just say that 2017 is going to be a major year for Midas Monkey and for African storytelling in general.
That's pretty sick, man. I cannot wait for it. I'm super excited. I'm glad the Kickstarter.
I'm excited too.
Yeah, dude. Like this is amazing because I'm a little salty because when the Kickstarter dropped, I believe I was actually at work that day and I got home and I think I was maybe the 5th or 6th.
You're back at number 3. You're back at number 3.
Holy shit! Yeah. I wanted to be number 1, but anyway, I'll take. You got to take an L sometimes. That's perfectly fine. But before we go. Expose people to MidasMonkey.com as well, because I think that it's to me it's very important, and this is just for me as a backer. Right. I'm a person. I've backed Roye's Kickstarter. I've backed Bologo no Jitare's Kickstarter. I've backed Greg's Kickstarter. Those are 3 Kickstarters that I've backed. I think I may and I've backed another Kickstarter. Tuskegee Ears, which we won't get into because I just won't even get into that.
I didn't say anything this time.
I just won't do it.
I'm just a humble guest that just came in. I don't know these people we're talking about.
Yeah, the other 3 Kickstarters are, to me, they're like the epitome of what I say of something that gives you confidence, because it's products that you can touch. The products are real. The products have already been published, except I think for Greg, because Kickstarter was to get things printed and get everything going. But again, it's just it's just who he is as a person and his honesty and his openness. They'll let you know.
That was another thing that I really loved about Greg. That I loved how he put that there, because he follows the same ideology that I do, where you shouldn't have enough self-respect to not use Kickstarter as an ATM.
Right.
Make sure that you do the work that you have to do. You have to put your own money down too sometimes, your own work, because he paid for it out of his own pocket.
Yes, yeah.
He paid for it out of his own pocket. He made sure that he had a finished product before he went to asking people for money. And he made sure that what he was asking them for was only for the thing that he could not do on his own, which is print it on his own.
Right.
And then, because you have to have self-dignity before, you have to have enough self-respect for your product and trusting your product if you want other people to respect it too. Right. And that pays off in the long run. So I have a lot of respect for Greg and what he's doing. And make sure that people keep his name in their mind, because you're going to see it in lights really soon. That guy's got some stuff ahead of him.
Integrity is the word. It just came to my old brains right now as you were talking. So integrity is the key tone, and I think these group of people, these group of gentlemen, are the people who have integrity, and I think that these projects are worth backing, anything that they did and that they will do and that they have done. So in terms of Paul, the reason why I'm personally endorsing it, I can I shared it on Twitter. I shared it on the Slovenly Gamer Podcast Facebook page to let you guys know I personally backed it. And I can honestly let you know right now, openly, just to be honest with you, I backed it. I won't say how much, but this is the biggest backing I've ever done for a Kickstarter.
I can definitely vouch for that. That was very much appreciated.
And you guys don't have to do the same thing, but I would implore you to support this. This is a great, this is a great cause. This is a great projects. Not even projects, because it's too.
Well, a little thing I want to put onto that too, because there was something that I really appreciated. That it was something that really made me smile when I saw that. Though there was one guy, I can't remember his name, but I think it's actually I think he was either from Africa or like one of the African fan base. And he didn't ask for a reward. He just put $5 in there. And I thought that was so awesome. Let me tell you why I thought that was so awesome. Because here's a guy, you don't know if that was like the last $5 spent. You don't know if he probably had that project to spend a large amount of money before that.
Right.
And like when you probably have like a really large paycheck, and then you have all these bills and it like just like zaps up everything. Like that last $5, like, you know what? I'm gonna take this $5. I'm gonna treat myself. I'm gonna go and get myself something to eat. Well, he decided to go and put in the Kickstarter without any reward and say, look, this is the last bit I have. I still want you to have it anyway, though. That $5 felt like $5,000 to me. Right. Because it was and I really mean that from the bottom of my heart, though. People like that really make it worthwhile for me, where it's not about the amount that you're giving. It's just, hey, look, I just really want this to happen, man. I just want it to happen, though, and that to me makes it really makes it worthwhile. I just kind of wanted to put that in there because I just found that so awesome when I saw that. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna save that forever. Like, if I could like take that $5 and kind of frame it, I would frame it, because like, yes. It was pretty special.
I mean, I can imagine, and I think that speaks to the project. It speaks to everything that we were kind of discussed. It speaks to everything we've touched on in our previous episodes. It speaks to all of that. Like, this is something that's worth backing. And again, for the last couple minutes of the show, just in case some, there's new listeners, people aren't necessarily familiar, talk to us about MidasMonkey.com. Talk to us about the products on there. Talk to us about some of the products that they will see on there if they back the Kickstarter, what they may or not get, what they may or may not get. And also talk about, after you finish that, I would like for you to go into the perks that people are going to get. Well,
let me talk about the Midas Monkey shop first. The Midas Monkey shop is something that was a long time in production before I actually launched that about a month or two ago. And the reason why is because I didn't want to just open up a shop and say, hey, we got a few T-shirts or posters just to get some extra income. I really wanted a hub for all merchandise and all information on all of my franchises. And I wanted to make sure it was quality merchandise. So I got that through my website. The cool thing with the website is that there's over like 100 items to choose from. This isn't just like your average merchandise shop. There really is. There's things that have been designed. It's kind of like my own hot topic, and I'm so proud of how it came out. We have T-shirts, we have posters, we have canvas, printed art, framed prints. We have printed stretch canvases. Like if you saw like the opening double page shot of Yohance and so like the Gaspar Roa, well, you could have that over your couch as a stretch canvas, as a piece of art. I sell that from the shop too. The same thing goes for the double page spread of Khufu in issue 2 of the pack. So it really is something that I put a lot of work into, because as a designer, I always wanted to create products and not just stories. I actually like to create products too. The cool thing about that is that there are certain things that you can only find on the shop that you will not find on the Kickstarter, and certain things you can find on the Kickstarter that you cannot find on the shop. Right. Case in point, there are 2 exclusive T-shirts. They're listed. I could kind of use it to segue into the perks for the Kickstarter. There are 4 unique perks to the Kickstarter. Sorry, it's not 4. It's probably I think like about There are 5 unique T-shirts that you'll only find on the Kickstarter. both for the pack and for Yohance. And there are 2 unique posters that you'll only find on the Kickstarter. There's a unique poster for the pack, a unique poster for Yohance. The only place you'll be able to get these items is during this Kickstarter. So if you want them, you can see them in the video. You can go directly to the Kickstarter. You can see those. If you want those, you can put your order in on the Kickstarter. They're available right now, but after that, they won't be available anymore. In addition to that, we have a myriad of other different posters. We have stretched canvas prints as well for the higher tiers. We have T-shirts, like I mentioned before. We have PDF versions so it's like the digital versions of the books,
right.
And of course, obviously, because the Kickstarter is to print the books, the perks also include the printed books too. And there's 22 different tiers. There's even more than that, probably like 25 different tiers. Of every type of combination and mixture they can think of. So there really is something for everyone.
Right.
If you're the kind of person where you just want digital copies of all 4 books, we have a perk for you for that. If you just want one digital book, we got that. If you want all the printed books and digital copies, we got that.
Like
the T-shirts, everything.
Yeah.
If you want T-shirts, if you want posters, if you want posters and T-shirts, we want one book. You can do all that stuff. There's every combination you can think of. So that's the merchandise.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I know you got to get to it. Thank you for coming on to the show and dropping.
Thanks for having me, man. It was a pleasure.
It's honestly my pleasure to have you on. And before we go, let people know, generally, it's always, social media stuff. But the most important today is let them know exactly where they can go for the Kickstarter, just in case people are unaware.
Well, what do you mean? We have the link in the show notes, though.
Yeah, obviously. But you know what? Sometimes people are lazy, man. So you got to say it to them. You got to actually say, hey, listen, go to kickstarter.com / the pack or Midas Monkey.
Go to kickstarter.com and go under comics. It should be under the comics that they love, so it should be easy to find. And or just go to kickstarter.com and type in the pack and Yohance.
Exactly.
Just right there. There's only one of them. You'll pick it up. We're the one that at the moment of this recording we're 1/3 funded. So I gotta at least put a little victory dance in there too, though, guys. You guys are awesome, by the way. I mean, 1/3 in 1 week. You guys got to give yourself a huge round of applause because I didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah, it's like I'm looking at it and it looks like it's just about to hit the 5,000 mark. So that's awesome.
Oh yeah, wow, that's
really
incredible.
great.
That's a huge milestone there too.
Stuff. As always, folks, you know me, Slovenly Gamer Milton. Hosting another episode. I hope you guys had a good one. I hope you guys enjoy the show. I hope you guys support this awesome Kickstarter. And today, there's not going to be a fade in because this track that I have is so sick. And I was listening to it on my drive home today to record this episode that I don't want to alter it. So there's a fade in. So this is Sonic the Hedgehog Final Zone.
What?
I hope you guys enjoy it. Peace.
Wait, from which one? Hold up. From which one?
Listen, man, we out of here, folks. Enjoy it.
Oh man, I'm about to listen to this right now.